All right. So thank you everyone for joining. My name is Daniel Araki. I'm a PLM Solutions Architect at Elite Aerospace Group. Elite is hosting the webinar today on the new features of Mathcad Prime 5.0. And before we go into the demo, I would like to quickly introduce you to Elite. We are a PTC partner, consulting and reselling for PTC, but we also are a customer, a manufacturer using PTC products for CAD, PLM, IoT, and AR. So our team at Elite Engineering Services administrates, configures, and customizes the PTC software to meet our business requirements. And we also take that knowledge and provide services helping customers overcome their business challenges. And services are mostly around PTC solutions such as Mathcad, of course, Windchill, Creo, Navigate, but we also do consulting, training, CAD automation, and much more that involves engineering projects. And one last thing before we go into the demo, the next webinar will be on configuration and change management in Windchill. Our CM2 professional will be sharing the art of configuration management and demonstrating how changes are facilitated through the Windchill PLM system. It'll be 2 weeks from today, and the URL to register is on the slide. And I also wanted to mention a virtual event that will be hosted by PTC. It's Embracing the Pace of Change for Aerospace and Defense in a Connected World. It'll examine the latest challenges regarding cybersecurity, additive manufacturing, PLM, AR, IoT use cases across industry and government. All right, with that, I'll pass the presentation over to Colleen, who is a member of the Virtual Center of Excellence at PTC, and will be introducing us to Mathcad Prime 5.0.
All right, great. Hi, everybody. So my name is Colleen. Daniel, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I'm going to change you to the presenter.
All right, great. Are you able to see my PowerPoint slide yet?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay, so hi everybody. Thanks for joining the Mathcad webcast today. Again, my name is Colleen, and I am an application engineer in PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you'll be able to learn a little bit about Mathcad Prime, and especially those new features that come with Mathcad Prime 5.0. And I will also talk a little bit about the features that were newly included with Mathcad Prime 4.0. But with that, we'll go ahead and dive into our PowerPoint slides. I'll show us a quick demo of Mathcad Prime 5.0, and then we'll wrap up with some slides. Okay, so Mathcad is a digital engineering notebook to perform calculations and document your design intent. So it's a software that's specifically made for documenting the engineering process. So it's more than just a strong math calculator behind the scenes. It's something that you can use to document your whole process, add in images, add in text, and we'll get to more of that later. But some of the challenges that we see people have that Mathcad can really fix is that there's a lack of standardization to capture your intellectual property in calculations. So Mathcad is all about documenting the process from start to finish. You can use it to do that calculation and all that, the strong math calculator you need behind the scenes, but it also describes how your product works, describes how you made the decisions in the design process that you did. So there's a variety of ways to document. That could be on an Excel spreadsheet, that could be on emails, on Word docs. So you kind of have your calculations in design intent scattered across many different programs. And that makes it hard to pass it on to whoever's working on the new product or whoever needs to make an update to that product. So when you need to reuse and share that, you're not just sending one nice program. You're ending up sending up emails, paper calculations, Excel sheets, etc. And a lot of that could end up falling through the cracks, and then that person is going to have to do a lot of rework that you're trying to help out and send your old work to. And with that traditional way of pencil and paper sheets, or any other normal calculators, the errors are very hard to catch. So you're not going to see when someone uses a different unit than you do, especially if they're in their tiny Excel sheets and you have to really dig down and find out what units are they using. So a perfect example of this is that NASA sent up a Mars robot in 1999. And so they made their own calculations, they did a lot of their work, but they were using a vendor to calculate thrust. And what happens is that NASA was using newtons while the vendor was using pounds of force. So the robot, millions of dollars, made it all the way to Mars, and then it could not thrust itself correctly, and it ended up crashing into the Mars atmosphere. So all that hard work, all that effort and money went to waste, and the robot was not able to collect the weather data that it was supposed to from Mars. So in those traditional ways, you have the vendor have somebody else using a different way to calculate something, and then when you combine it with yours, if you don't go and do the deep dive to figure out what units they were using, those errors could fall through the cracks. And with Mathcad, it's going to tell you, it's going to keep those units with it as you go through the calculation, and it'll either convert those units for you or to tell you when the units aren't compatible. So again, Mathcad is the digital engineering notebook to perform calculations and document your design intent. So it's really a software for documenting the engineering process. However, it's more than just a document. It's an engineering notebook. So that means you can and have all those drawings that really gives a visual to what you're trying to calculate out with formulas or any sort of math. And it can also perform calculations, create plots. So it's a math engine. It has a strong math engine and can solve equations and set variables and do any symbolic math that you want it to do. And it's not done with coding or computer language. It looks just like a document, except it's going to be much neater when you type it out. So again, it's the digital engineering notebook to perform your engineering calculations and manage design intent. And you're not coding, you're not learning a new language in order to use Mathcad. So it's going to combine the ease and familiarity of an engineering notebook with a powerful mathematical engine. So you see here that we have graphs, bar charts, everything combined into the one sheet along with the matrices or whatever math you need to do. So a little bit more about Mathcad's capability is that it's a whiteboard interface, so it can have a grid like an engineering paper if you want, or it can have no grid. So you're going to be able to type X equals, and it's going to solve out for you. You're not having to learn another language. It knows what you're trying to do. So again, that's that natural math notation with the X plus Y equals, and it solves. So it has intuitive typing. There's no small cells to dig into and try to figure out what it's trying to say. It's nice, big. It looks just like you're writing on a piece of paper. Mathcad is going to keep track for you. It's going to document everything you have. It's going to have the live math, text, graphics, and programs all together. So again, it's not just calculating. You're not just using it as a calculator, but it's a document that you can send off to the end, have all that work in one place instead of you having to dig through your emails or Excel sheets to send somebody so they don't have to rework everything you did. It also is going to be able to do those unit conversions when you need it to. It's, again, it's going to keep everything together. You see we have this nice picture right next to all the variables we're documenting, so we can have that visual aid right next to all the variables. And then it's going to manage the units automatically for you. So you don't have to worry about any of those small conversions that you're worried about. It'll convert everything back to the automatic unit in Mathcad, meters for example, and then you can easily change that to whatever unit you'd like to look in. And then it's also self-documenting. So you can use it as scratch paper at the beginning, say, hey, I really need to figure out what this solution is, and then it ends up becoming your final document. You can add in some text in there to describe what you're doing, add in a graph, and then it's something you can send up to anybody else who needs to see it or pass on to the next people working on a new product. A little bit more about Mathcad capabilities is that it's a WYSIWYG document, which means what you see is what you get. So you don't have to change the format for printing. You can just do file print, and it'll look exactly the same as it does on your computer screen. Mathcad does have a huge function library of math notation solving data analytics and statistics. So you don't have to teach Mathcad how to do any of the functions you like to do. They're already programmed into Mathcad. You can also make very nice plots, so someone who you send it off to can really get the visual aid of what you're trying to tell them, really get the point across, see whatever function that you're trying to show, trying to establish in a visual format. So you can make live plots based on the data before it. You can stretch out the plots, change the units, and again, there's lots of different ways to display the data within Mathcad. So you're not stuck with the generic format that Mathcad is going to spit out at you. You can go ahead and change those colors, change the axis to however large or small you'd like it, add in all those labels so people can really understand what you're trying to get across. Mathcad is also fully integrated with Creo Parametric. So it has documents. So when you connect Creo and Mathcad, and those are connected, then you can send them off together. You have the Creo Parametric, which is a CAD solution, explaining what your model is going to look like and the different dimensions, while Mathcad is going to document why those design decisions are there. They're going to say, hey, this worked best. This is why we chose that. So you don't have someone going back and double checking or asking why you did this. It can be all described in your Mathcad worksheet. So it's going to have that document design intent. So again, when you send this off to somebody, they're not going to be confused by why this decision was made or try to make a different decision if they understand why that route was taken. You can also do analysis-driven design. So that means if you have a dimension already set in Creo, you can send it off into Mathcad, do some verifications, make sure it's going to work, and then pick a new dimension in Mathcad to send back into Creo. All right, now I'll walk us into the demonstration here. And just give me one moment to switch gears. All right, so we're going to start off at our title page here for deflection in the beam. So you see that it's not just a basic calculator, or it's something that you can have this text in. You can then format the text, have it sent, have it, bold it, change the color, put it right in the center. So it's something you're able to send off as your full document, instead of just some math calculations. So we have the title page here describing what this whole document is going to be about. If we get started into our first picture here, I double click it and it sends me right into the photo editing tool. So what that means is that this is fully embedded within Mathcad. So it's not something that I have to switch, and this is just PowerPoint here, that's my photo editing tool. So it's not something that I have to switch back and forth between PowerPoint and Mathcad between. I'm just going to double click and it's going to bring up that PowerPoint image for me. So if I go ahead and make some quick changes here, I'm just going to change some colors. So this embedding the documents is brand new in Mathcad 4.0 Prime. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, change the color, and you'll see once I exit out of this PowerPoint here, it's going to update for me in my Mathcad worksheet. So again, I'm not switching between tools here to document my process. I'm just double clicking on that drawing and it's going to bring me straight into the editing tool. All right, I'm going to define some variables just to get out some of that basic what is Mathcad information here. So I'm going to define B and D, and all I'm doing is typing B equals and D equals. It's not like I'm having to say variable or tell Mathcad what I'm doing. It already knows what I'm doing. Okay, and then if I go ahead and calculate out the moment of inertia here with B and D, but instead, let's say I type H instead of D, and it'll tell me that all these units are attached to I when I ask Mathcad, what does I equal? And we'll see, hey, I didn't really set any units on B or D here. I'm not sure what's going on. And then we can go and look through and see that I used H instead of D, and then we can ask Mathcad, okay, what is H? And it'll pop up right here. So that's just Planck's constant, and Mathcad already has it as a set variable. So I can just ask Mathcad, what is H? It tells me, and then I know that's not at all what I wanted to incorporate. I meant to incorporate D. So I'll just go in, edit that formula I already made, and it'll recalculate for me. Let's add in some units into my variables, and then we'll see Mathcad update automatically. So Mathcad's automatic unit is meters. All I have to do to change that is change that M for cm, and it'll update into centimeters. So again, it's doing all those small conversions, and you know that if you have 50 or so conversions to do, little errors can fall through the cracks. You don't move the decimal over the right amount, and if you have a machine doing it instead, there's not going to be those tiny slips of errors. That'll take forever to go back and find where exactly did that error happen. And now I'm going to see how Mathcad reacts to me trying to add centimeters in B to seconds. And we'll see that Mathcad actually won't let you add incompatible units. So that's also a relief that any small error or anything, even if a switch of a variable, I meant to type, like I just did there, D instead of H, it'll stop you from adding incompatible units. Okay, now we're going to walk through a little bit of functionality that Mathcad has with Excel sheets. So, Excel is, use it a lot to have different matrices, different grids for different values that you need to do calculations. Well, you can bring those Excel sheets, you can use them straight in Mathcad. So we're going to set up a read Excel function with Mathcad, and it's going to be able to not only show us what's in that Excel document, but be able to do calculations with it. So we're just going to tell Mathcad what rows and columns we want to bring in from this Excel sheet, and then bring them into Mathcad. You can also set up this matrix as a variable, so we'll set it equal to data, and then we can ask Mathcad, what is data? So it's pulling right out from that Excel sheet the rows and columns we tell it. We can switch these rows and columns, bring up a different matrix set here. All right, and then let's go ahead and use it. It's one thing to bring it in and see it, and it's another to be able to do calculations with what we're bringing in. So we'll go ahead and read in column 2, or row 2, column 1, and then it'll calculate that out for us. All right, moving on, we just have this beam dimensions and loading requirements, so we can just set our variables up here. And this is just showcasing that it's not just code here, it's not just coding we're doing. We're giving Mathcad, like we would on a piece of paper, variables and formulas. Just L equals, W equals, A equals. And then we have not only nice big bold text telling us what each of those variables are, but we have a picture describing what they actually mean. All within this one document, so you can document your whole engineering design process, and it can all be here together. So when you send it off, you're not searching through everything to find every piece of information somebody needs. It can all be within this one document. Okay, we're going to take a look at a new functionality here with Mathcad Prime 4. And what that is that you're able to protect areas. So if you want your intellectual property to not be able to be touched or changed by anyone who you're going to send it, like for example NASA, the different vendors, or if you want to send it to somebody else in a different department, you can protect areas so you make sure that no change is made. So it's protected with the password, and only the people who you want to have that password can have it. Okay, if you remember, we made some variables way up at the top with that picture. We can go ahead and use them down here, use this formula that we password protected, use that to go ahead and calculate out the deflection at L/2. Again, we changed that meters to millimeters, very simple. We just added in, we had it at M, then we added an mm, and it recalculated for us, no work from our end. This is just to show that you can have something completely behind the scenes and hide an area. So we have some symbolic derivation that really you don't need to send, people don't really need to see, unless they're really curious and want to do that deep dive. So if you don't want to mess up the flow of your document, you can just hide in any of those behind the scenes calculations, that anyone who you're sending to might not want to get the full deep dive there. And again, we just showed how easy it was to switch the units. Okay, we saw some 2D plots there, and this is a different functionality of Excel. So we saw the function where you can read in certain rows and columns. What we're going to do now is similar to what we did with that drawing, where I double-clicked on the drawing. It brought up PowerPoint for me to go ahead and make some small edits. That's the same thing we're doing here. We're embedding an Excel sheet. So I can have this table here. I can make small changes like highlight this first row like I did, maybe make some things bold, center it, and then once I exit out, it'll update automatically for me in my Mathcad workbook. So again, no involved of switching back and forth between Excel and Mathcad. I just double clicked it, it opened, and I exit out. So I didn't have to worry about saving or anything like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a closer look at the new 5.0 Prime 5 graphing capabilities. So I just double clicked on my grid here and it brought up this nice window for me to format it. So I'm not digging into some settings to be able to format this graph how I want it to. I just double clicked and it brought up this panel that I can walk through and change any of the settings I'd like. So let's go ahead and change the fill, make it so it's not see-through, add in a couple legends. So again, I'm walking through this, making the edits I want so the graph is the most easily understanding as it possibly can. So there's no confusion when somebody else looks at it. They'll know exactly what I meant by showing them this graph. So go ahead and make the title a little bit more noticeable. Give it an X and Y axis title. And what this graph is also showcasing is that I have my main function, and then I also have the two vertical lines also as y-axes, showing us different points I want to highlight. So that's new with Mathcad 5 is that you no longer are limited to one function on a graph. You can have multiple now, multiple y-axis. So we have now a nice legend. We'll keep giving them titles here so we know exactly what we're looking at. So it's going to show us the position of the max deflection with that vertical line there. I've just finished formatting this here. Give this a nice name. So you see from the beginning to end, you know, there wasn't really eye-catching before, and then I went ahead and added in that fill in the background, really gave those titles some pop, and now it can really catch someone's eye, and somebody will know immediately what they're looking at here, what I mean to show. You know, I mean to show that position of max deflection in the load position. So there's no confusion about what this graph is supposed to portray. Okay, we're going to keep moving on here. So we have just some more programming to show the strong math engine behind Mathcad. And now I'm going to do a 3D graph with this information that I was calculating up above. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a function here so it knows what it's showcasing. And again, this isn't something that is set in stone. I have the capability to change the color, move it around, change any of the axes I'd like. Again, move around, change it. So anyone looking at this can move it around to any angle they'd like so they can get a different idea of whatever data you're trying to portray with this. All right, excellent. And with that, into the PowerPoint. And talk a little bit more, and I did highlight during that demo a little bit about what's new with Mathcad Prime 4 and 5, but here in the PowerPoint we'll talk a little bit more about each of those points. So a little bit more about Mathcad Prime 4. So we had some performance enhancements that included documents and plot capabilities being improved. We can now have that content protection, and you guys saw that during the demo, is that I can add that password into whatever formulas or sections that I'd like so that no one can make that change and mess up any of your intellectual property. We also have interoperability with third-party apps. That's when we were able to click on that drawing and it brought us straight into PowerPoint. So I could have that drawing straight in, be fully connected with Mathcad. The same thing with the Excel. You can also copy and paste multiple regions into Word now. It's much easier to make equation breaks in Mathcad Prime 4. It also had some bug fixes and made it better for Windows 10 support. Okay, a little bit deeper dive here into the area protection. And again, this is what you guys saw in the demo, that you no longer have to worry about an important formula being messed up when you send it off. So you can still have those areas viewable and have that password optional. And then you can also protect areas from view. So that's almost combining that password, and then we collapsed that derivation behind the scenes. So you can combine them together to make sure that not only is an area collapsed and you can't view it, but also it's password protected. Right. So this is a little bit more about, we were able to double click on that drawing and it brought us straight into PowerPoint. That is also able to do on video or any other, or a couple other drawing tools that you have. Okay, a little bit more about how you can work it with third-party applications is that you can copy and paste multiple regions into Word and not worry about the format getting messed up. So you're going to copy and paste and it'll bring it up the same as what you saw in Mathcad. So you can select multiple regions across multiple pages and just copy it. So you can have some options there. The same thing with when you paste anything. You can keep source formatting or do the merge formatting if you'd like. A little bit more about the Mathcad Prime 5.0, and this is the big release that we had for Mathcad 5, is that you're now able to edit your 2D graphs to make them look exactly as you want, to fit any company standards or even your own, to make sure that it's getting the idea across as clearly as possible. So you can have multiple y-axes now on the same plot, so you can compare and contrast different options that you have. So we're going to walk through here and see how we're able to change this sort of basic 2D chart into fully blown, you can get the idea right away chart. So we went through, you can add any aspect of the plot, add in titles, axis, or plot appearances. You have a lot of different options for font now. And you can add in grid lines and value markers to really highlight or be able to make it more clearly understood what belongs where. So, and then you can go ahead and import those plot and axis titles. And then here's kind of the midway step here where this chart is a little bit more understood. And then you can add in that, edit legends and data lines, anything you'd like with that. Okay. And then I just have some value slides to kind of wrap up here. So Mathcad is a powerful tool that protects your intellectual property. You can share your knowledge with your whole enterprise without digging through those Excel workbooks and emails to find where all those design and decisions and design intent were made. So you can make the critical design intent available with convenient storage, all having it on this one workbook in Mathcad. So you can make better designs and better engineering. So you're not making decisions based on a calculation you did once and forgot about. You're able to share this Mathcad workbook out with anybody. They can see the formulas, the equations behind the decisions that you made. It's also going to improve product quality, so you won't have those unit screw up or uncertainty if your design meets your requirements. So again, Mathcad stopped me from adding centimeters and seconds together. It also changed the meters into millimeters or centimeters very quickly when I wanted it to, so I didn't have to worry about doing those calculations myself and making a decimal place error. So it's going to speed up your time to market by saving time and reducing errors. So it's a system that's going to write the equations for you so you don't have to write them by hand or in a tiny cell where you can't see what's going on. So it's going to help you to have no mistakes with units or values, and then you will also limit the frustration with visibility. It can also help with improving compliance with regulations. And then my last one here is the plot fully done. We can see immediately what it's trying to show us. We have the X and Y axes well defined, as well as the chart labels well, and we have the legend showing us what exactly each line means. So you can compare those data sets with ease. You can represent data quickly so people can understand what you're trying to portray. You can create a plot that's best suited for your critical engineering data. That could be company standards or even your own personal way of showcasing data. You can communicate clear. You can communicate your data clear and in an efficient manner so that everything makes sense. And it's really just going to help you enhance the visualization of your data. Okay, with that, I want to thank everyone again for coming to the webcast. Please stick around and answer any questions that you may have. But again, thanks for spending some time with us, and I hope you enjoyed Mathcad Prime 5.0 and what I had to show you today. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Colleen. Let's wait for the questions to come in for a bit. If anyone has any questions, feel free to write them in the chat window in WebEx. Oh, I see one. I have a question coming in. Let me see. I see a comment saying, as a long-term user, I'm still waiting to PTC add controls to Mathcad Prime. Sorry, no questions. Oh, there's one. There's a question, how can we convert from Mathcad 14 to Prime? Colleen, is that something you could answer?
So Mathcad 14, right? That ended with Mathcad 15, and so Mathcad Prime is kind of a new software. So I believe you would have to go in and buy that separately and then re-download it. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's something that you could buy online and upgrade yourself. Not sure if Angie, if you want to speak any more to that.
Yeah, hi there, Colleen. I can make a comment on that. So Mathcad 14 files can be brought into Mathcad Prime. However, they will need to be converted into Mathcad Prime's format. And the migration path to do that is through Mathcad 15. So what Colleen said is correct. You would need Mathcad 15 as a stepping stone to bring those Mathcad 14 worksheets into Mathcad Prime.
All right, thank you, Angie. Let's see, we have one more question. Is there a plan for PTC to add controls to Mathcad Prime, such as list boxes and radio boxes?
Yep, I can answer that as well. There is a plan to add controls to Mathcad Prime. That is part of the plans for Mathcad Prime in the future. I cannot comment on the time frame for that, but it is part of the plan, and controls are fairly high up on the list of priorities. So they're fairly close to the top of the priority list for Mathcad Prime.
Okay. There's a few more questions coming in for conversions, I think. So one of them is, if I have a license for 4.0, would that still work for 5.0?
Yeah, the license for 4.0 will not work for 5.0, Mathcad Prime 5.0. Just as with any PTC product, does require upgrading or updating the license. So you would need to get a new license for Mathcad Prime 5, and that would work for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Mathcad 15 as well.
Right. And another one regarding licensing, is there a separate license required to convert from 15 to Prime?
There's not a separate license required. It's the same license. So when you buy Mathcad Prime, you actually get a license that will license Mathcad Prime 5 and 4 and the prior versions of Mathcad Prime. it will also license Mathcad 15. So, so it's the same license.
All right, thank you very much. I don't see any more questions coming in, so we'll wrap it up here. Thank you everyone again for joining. I hope to see you in future webinars that we have. All right, have a good day.